All right, so
Okay.
we've got 2:01. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. This is the session, TMC Connect session, Building Better Referral Relationships Through Content Marketing. Here with us today is co-founder and CEO of one of our preferred partners, the Toby Agency, and he is going to have a presentation for us today. Everybody is muted. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat and we will address them at the end of the call. And tomorrow you will get a copy of this. Are you going to send out the deck as well?
Yep, the deck will be available.
Okay, perfect. And sorry if this is Andrew Hong, I didn't say your name. So we'll send out a copy of the deck as well as the recording of this and the link to the podcast. So with that, Andrew, I will give it off to you.
All right, thank you so much for that introduction. So we're here to talk today a little bit about building referral relationships and partnerships through content marketing. My name is Andrew Hong. As Amy mentioned, I'm the CEO of Toby Agency. We're a content marketing agency really focused on the real estate, financial services, and mortgage sectors. My background is actually, I was the chief marketing officer of a direct-to-consumer lender, as well as we had a small retail division as well. So mortgage marketing and mortgage content is something very near and dear to my heart. So let's go ahead and get started. So we've all probably seen this sort of press release from last year from the MBA that we know that purchase originations are obviously going to be a big focus going in as we continue through 2022. And the basic idea here is that, hey, look, the overall mortgage market is shrinking, but the purchase market is increasing as a part of that shrinking share of the market, right? And so really what we've been thinking about is like, hey, when I was running this mortgage company, we were really talking about whenever we started to see this shift towards purchase, immediately we started thinking, okay, what is our strategy to try and transition out of this refi environment into more of a purchase environment? Inevitably, we always said, we've got to get more referral partners, right? And for us, and I think for a lot of us, we know that referral partners are great lead gen sources for purchase business. But really, how do you build referral partnerships without being like cheesy, pushy, or salesy, right? Like, how do we build those relationships with the wealth managers, with the real estate agents, without asking them to go out to lunch every single time, right? So really, there's 3 steps to finding referral partners, right? One is you've got to find the referral partner, which is relatively easy to do. Second step is you've got to actually partner with them and set up a relationship and get that engagement going. And third is really you've got to maintain that referral partner relationship, right? Which is also difficult. As we all know, these relationships require you to kind of nurture them, and it's really hard to build them, especially at scale, right? So, really you've got to be asking yourselves, like, what strategies do you actually have in place to get more lead gen from referral partnerships? And this is something that, admittedly, when we were seeing these sort of shifts towards purchase, we never really had a good strategy for these really solid sources of purchase business. And so really what I've focused on today is to talk about how do we build more authentic relationships through tools like content marketing. And I wanted to give everyone just a really very quick crash course on what exactly is content marketing. And basically what it is that you're getting people to become aware and engage with you because you're providing helpful or educational content, right? There's just too much noise out there on the internet right now to put content out there that only talks about yourself, right? You've got to put content out there that's helpful or useful to the audience that you're trying to reach. And in this case, we're trying to reach referral partners, and we'll talk about some strategies in that later in the presentation. But in a digital first world, like there's no way that you can communicate with people without some sort of content, right? So if you're trying to get awareness, if you're trying to get people to find you in the digital world, you've got to create content, okay? And really content is what are you making or what are you producing or what are you using to communicate with someone on? And the marketing piece is really how are you getting the eyeballs and engagement on the content that you're creating, right? And so we typically think about content in sort of like three buckets or three parts of a funnel, or in this case, it's kind of shaped as a flywheel. But really the first kind of content or type of content is what we call attract content, right? And that's all about getting relevant audiences to come to you. You're a magnet. You attract those audiences to you because you do have helpful or useful content, right? You also have engaged content, right? Which is once you've attracted those people to you, that you get them to comment, to like, to share, to opt into a mailing list and to engage with you so that you can eventually market to them, continue to market to them, and then convert them, right? And then the delight content is after they're already your customer or you've already got them on board as a partner, how do you keep them there as a partner or a customer, right? So today what we're really going to talk about is really the engage and delight portion of the content. And we're going to talk about how to build that kind of content to get real estate referral partners to the table. Okay, so just a few really big best practices when it comes to content marketing. So first is on the strategy side and production side, like what content do you need to create and how do you produce it, right? Really, if at the corporate level, you should have some sort of content strategy that your branches and your MLOs can piggyback off of. And what that means is like, hey, do you have branded content at the corporate level that they can leverage for their own social media? You should be developing an editorial calendar so you actually have a basis of content to start from. You should develop a production calendar so that you know the lead time that is needed to create the content to actually publish according to your editorial schedule. And you should be creating content specifically for a persona. So in this case, we're going to be talking about referral partners and very specifically real estate agent referral partners. And then obviously to have the right resources to strategize and produce this content, whether it's in-house or outsourced. Now on the distribution side, which is getting eyeballs on that content and engagement side, I'd recommend that you use a social automation tool. And you've seen Social Coach and a lot of the things that Social Coach can do to help you with both scheduling and compliance. Finding hashtags, and not just any hashtags, but ones that are very specific to your market area and to your locale. And then making sure that the content that you put out there, as long as it's to the right persona, that you're tagging or replying referral partners, previous customers, and other partners who might be relevant to the post that you're putting up there, right? And then certainly being social on social, right? Which is following and engaging with referral partners, previous customers, and either other types of partners like title companies or wealth managers. And you can do things like liking their posts, commenting their post, sending them other posts or accounts to follow, and actually sending them DMs or direct messages, which is a little less intrusive than a text, but a better way to communicate with someone one-on-one than an email, right? And then obviously, last but not least, is just be very consistent with the amount of content that you're publishing and putting out there for people to see, okay? All right, so our agency works with tens of thousands of real estate agents. And really, I want to focus our conversation today on real estate agents as referral partners. And so we work with a lot of companies that really focus on beginner real estate agents or one that are getting their qualifying education or QE, or experienced real estate agents that are getting their continuing education or CE, right? Very similar to what you have to do as an MLO to get licensed in the various states you're going to do business in. So we work with these at scale and create content for a lot of these companies. And we've been able to gather some really, really interesting insights into the types of content that these real estate agents like to see. And as you can see, like we're getting hundreds of thousands of page views per month. And so we've been able to actually identify that there's really 5 kinds of content that real estate agents want. One is salary and income information, and this holds true for really any vertical or industry. I know there's a lot of like MLO comp guides and things like that that are out there for the mortgage industry, and certainly that kind of data is very relevant to real estate agents. They've also loved tips on growing their network and building partners, and that's really been like blog content, in addition to tips on lead generation. So as you can tell, like they're also looking for a lot of the types of content that LOs or marketers in the mortgage industry are looking for as well. But the two most interesting things that we found as we were talking to real estate agents and understanding what kind of content they want is pricing data and trends on their local market. And we work with an organization that produces what are called luxury market reports for very specific markets across the US. And then they also said they wanted content in private groups or communities, like private Facebook groups, Slack channels, and like Discord servers. So really I started thinking about like, okay, like if we know the kind of content that real estate agents want, what can we do as mortgage marketers to try and put the right kind of content in front of them to position ourselves as helpful or useful, right? So we found that yes, real estate agents love data, especially when it's specific to their market area, and that real estate agents actually pay money to get this data, right? Like one of my clients, the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing, their agents pay an annual membership fee to get this luxury market report data specific to their market location. They have over 10,000, probably 15,000 members. Real Estate Express and McKissick Learning get over 100,000 downloads a month of their salary or income guide. And another real estate data company that we partner with, Real Marketing, their agents pay them a monthly fee to get local pricing data for direct mail campaigns that they send out. So as we started talking more and more to real estate agents, what we started to identify was that two pain points were that real estate agents really were looking for data-driven content that can help them generate awareness and engagement from their buyers and sellers. And a lot of this is pricing data related to their local market. And the second pain point is that even when they are able to get this useful data, it's never in social media friendly formats. It's usually in PDF formats that, as you can see here, which are not usually social friendly. So I started asking these real estate agents like, hey, what if, a lot of the lenders that I work with and all my loan officer buddies, like what if they were actually creating this content for real estate agents? Did they think that the type of content would be engaging to them or useful to them? So what we did is we mocked up a lot of this data in using real local market report data. And then we went out and we basically interviewed a number of real estate agents and said, hey, if a loan officer or a wealth manager or someone who you would see as a referral partner were to tag you with this content, put this content in front of you or email it to you, would you find it useful or helpful if you don't already have access to the data? And in every single real estate agent we spoke to, they said yes. And so the follow-up question I had to them was, well, like, how does this help you build this kind of referral partnership with the loan officer? And they're like, this is much better than loan officers coming to me asking me for a lunch or trying to get a meeting or telling me about their programs, because I can actually use this data in my own marketing. I can actually see myself sharing some of these posts in my Instagram stories or reposting them on Facebook. And that actually helps the loan officer as well, right? Because their brand is on this content and I'm just resharing it, and it becomes a very kind of symbiotic kind of relationship. So we probably talked to about 10 or 15 agents, and most of them kind of gave us that feedback on this content, right? So I started thinking through like, okay, if a mortgage company, a retail focused mortgage company that has like a branch model, how would they go about executing a strategy like this for real estate agents? And so basically it kind of boils down to, can you produce monthly corporate branded data-driven content for real estate agents in easy to digest social media formats? So that's the first thing, is get the data, brand it with your brand, and put it into easy to digest formats that real estate agents can easily reshare. And then distribute that content to your branches and to your LOs monthly. And then have them post the content to their social media profiles. And more importantly, tag their real estate partners, tag their previous borrowers, tag their partners, and even send those posts through direct messages to certain audiences. One thing that we always find, regardless if it's in real estate or if it's in mortgage, is that most of the real estate agents or even loan officers, they never make the post even when the content is ready for them. right? So again, I recommend that you use a social automation tool like Social Coach or some of those tools that are out there so that all of this content can be programmed and scheduled ahead of time. And since it's been branded up and approved at the corporate level, that makes it a lot easier for you to make sure that you're compliant from a marketing standpoint. So executing this strategy is a way to kind of increase the lender brand awareness, increase loan officer brand awareness, and obviously increase engagement from real estate agents. Okay, so that's one strategy that we can use to engage folks or to engage real estate agents. The second strategy that I want to talk about is this concept of community building. And, I would say that, obviously we as marketers and, businesses have understood the importance of social media marketing, right? And really over the last 10 years, like if you're not on social, like you don't exist as a business, right? So we know how important social media is. But the problem with social media is that it's kind of become a little bit of a dumpster fire, right? Like Facebook is not the platform that it used to be. Instagram is not the platform that it used to be, because what happens is there's just so much content on those platforms that it's very easy for things like extreme political views or, just trolls going out there looking to comment on things just to cause havoc with people, right? And so what we started to see brands do is to start building closed virtual communities that can encourage more authentic and dialogue and relationships. And I would say if I had to pick a hill to die on when it comes to where social media is going in 2022 and beyond, I would say that it is going towards this concept of community building. It's about getting your audience funneled into a private group or a private community where you can drive more meaningful dialogue and more professional and engaging dialogue, so that things do not get hijacked by extreme views or the crazy news that's out there. So I see communities as a way to source information via surveys and polls, and really create new content for a very, very specific group of engaged folks with you, right? I see this as a huge opportunity for community leaders to create virtual communities of real estate agents and mortgage loan officers. And really, when I say like virtual communities, these are basically communities that are placed in private Facebook groups where you have to answer a bunch of questions or know somebody to get into the group. I used an example of this Slack channel here, right? And this is our agency is a HubSpot agency, and what HubSpot did was they built an entire Slack channel for the thousands of agency partners that are out there. So literally, like when we get on to these communities, like I might have a problem and I'll post, hey, I'm having a problem with this workflow or automation, and the community will come in and help answer the question for me. So it's like other agencies, literally my competitors, that are coming in to help me build this sort of community, right? Community is just a really, really good place to go when you start to see all the different types of engagement that you're getting out there. And don't forget that these communities, even though they're started by your company, they don't necessarily need to be branded. So like I found, like Orange County has a real estate and mortgage finance professional group, right? Like there's a place where real estate agents and mortgage professionals are actually coming together to talk and share ideas. So again, like this is a very, very good place to go for social media and kind of the future of what we think about with content. I just saw a comment in there from Gabby. Hey, Gabby. And that, yes, that's great to see that, Active Comply also has got some great resources there for social media. So yeah, clearly, I think, Gabby, you agree with this concept of community. But yeah, if any of you have any other questions about community, please post them in the chat. Be happy to talk through them. So if you think this is an interesting strategy for you to execute, here's just some basic ideas on how you could sort of build community for real estate agents, right? So the first is you've got to kind of select the community manager. And usually this is someone who is typically in the real life community, someone who's going to like those Chamber of Commerce events they're networking, they're seen as a connector within their community. And then really what you want to do is you want to develop a charter for your community, right? Like, why are people joining? What are they doing here? What kind of value are they going to get from the community, right? The other item is you probably want to develop an editorial calendar for the community. And this is very different from the stuff that you would typically post on your social media. Do not see your community as another place just to kind of regurgitate a lot of your social media posts. You got to create content that's specific to that community. So things like virtual events, even in real life events, polls and surveys, right? So like Zoom masterminds are really good examples of like virtual events. And these are ways to get like real estate agents, mortgage professionals, even wealth planners together to chat about how we can all work together to accomplish similar types of goals, right? Then what you're going to do is after you kind of built the community charter, you've selected a platform, you've got a community manager, you're going to try to invite your initial members to the community. And usually because of this, it's the community manager's job to get a conversation going, right? So I've seen some communities where like a community manager go in there and might post like a really, really weird deal that a real estate agent ran into, right? And they might say, hey, like loan officers, like how would you approach tackling this really weird deal with the self-employed borrower? Wife has a W-2, but they've got all these, all this debt or these extra investment properties, right? How would you all think about like structuring a deal like that? So then I'd seen like a number of folks come in saying like, oh yeah, we've got a program for this, or you might want to think about that. And that becomes a really good way for people to help each other figure out how to close deals. And it becomes a very authentic place for that kind of engagement to help, right? So example topics that you could post in there are like tough deals, lead generation strategies or tactics, or trends or things that are happening locally within your market, right? Are you starting to see that general contractors are getting even in shorter supply now, right? Like talking about these sort of community things as they relate to housing, other types of topic can be very important, okay? These are some basic platforms, private Facebook groups. Mobilize is a much more expensive platform, but a very, very good community platform. There's been some amazing communities created on Slack, and Discord isn't really the right service for everybody, but it's also a very similar tool to Slack to build community around as well, okay? So just to kind of summarize a few benefits for content marketing and community. So on the content marketing side is, if you can create like real estate agent specific social campaigns that can really help you get engagement with those real estate agent referral partners at scale on a consistent basis, right? You're gonna, by producing this content for your MLOs, you're gonna improve social sharing for them, right? So now they get corporate approved, kind of branded and done for you content that's actually customized and specific to their market areas. So it doesn't feel like farmed out content that everybody is getting, right? It's actually going to allow you to extend the reach of your MLO content because it now provides real estate agents that make it easy to share your LO or your lender's brand in front of their clients, right? And last but not least, it's going to obviously increase the awareness of your lender broker brand, right? If the MLO is actually sharing that branding content with their audience at scale. On the community side, like it's all about reducing noise from the trolls that are out there in the community, right? Like I mentioned, like building community is allowing meaningful conversations to happen within social. It's driving what I call non-intrusive engagement at scale. So basically these virtual communities allow you to stay connected and top of mind without having to email, call, or text people. It's getting pushed to them from a social perspective, but they can engage with that whenever they decide to jump into the app, right? It also positions your brand or your LO as a community connector or a community leader. And we all know that when we start thinking about like a shift to purchase business, it's really about cultivating that sort of community and bringing everyone into the community, right? And then having this community and building this community is having a built-in distribution channel. And what I mean by that is that when you have something important to share, you now have an audience of a private engaged community, whether it's in your Facebook group or your Slack group, that will get more meaningful engagement than just doing an organic social share. For all the marketers and all of us out there that have been fighting this kind of organic social media game with Facebook and Instagram and all the platforms, we know that we post a lot organically, but our posts don't always get shown to our followers. But having your own private community, that post always gets shown to the people who are engaged in that community, right? So you kind of cut out the algorithm as like a middle step to reaching your audience or reaching your community. So if any of you actually do need help with content or community, our agency actually, we focus, number one, on building a real estate partner social media package. And basically what we do is we create customized content for retail mortgage lenders who really want to stay top of mind with real estate referral partners. And it includes customized static images, videos, captions, and email copy. And we also really focus on community management as a service. So if you want to build your own community or need a strategy to do that, our team can come in and help you do that as well. Okay. And I just saw a question come through from Gabby. Yeah, so Gabby, good question. So you may, question is, you may have covered this, Andrew, but what's the best way to motivate people to opt in to these communities? So, you got to offer value in the community, right? And usually when you offer value of the community, people are coming into these communities because they want to learn, right? They want to learn or they want to network. And I think the more that you can kind of craft your community strategy around those pillars of education or networking, by having things like events and webinars and things like that, those are very, very good ways to get people to opt in to your community. I will say though, that you probably need to have like a base community to start from. And usually the best place to start from is your existing customers or people who you already have referral partnerships with, right? Those are usually the best people to invite into your community to start with. And then once they're invited in, you've got to make sure you've got some content or some activities, if you would, to engage those folks. But I would say that's probably the best way to get them into the community is to get them invited in through events and things like that. And as a follow-up question here, would you suggest inviting people into the community via email or social media? I like seeding the community first with email because we already know that those people are kind of further down the funnel with you. They've kind of opted into already. So almost offering them like value as being one of kind of the founding members of the community is usually a good way to kind of get them in. But I'd start with email, get some engagement going in the community first, and then start pushing it through social media. So it's more, like a more bottom of the funnel kind of conversion. Yeah, no problem, Gabby. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much again for your time. I hope this was a helpful presentation. And Amy, I'll turn it right back over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew. That was fantastic. Like I said in the beginning, this was recorded, so I will send out the presentation as well as the deck and the recording, sorry. And you should get that tomorrow. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Andrew. I put his contact information in there as well. And with that, I hope everybody has a great afternoon. Thanks again, Andrew. Appreciate you.
Bye.